This week on Waxing the Porpoise, G-Baby and the usual suspect Steve once again call upon special guest Chris from Channel 83, this time to steel themselves against flying mortuary death spheres and a 7-foot-tall psychopath in 1988's bang ball Phantasm II. Join us as we meet the charismatic tall man, go on another make-your-own weapon montage at the hardware store, and go looking for love and revenge in all the wrong places. You might not like it, but Reggie Bannister is what the peak male athletic form looks like. Boy! Let's wax this quad barrel porpoise.
Chase, don't do that.
You see, we working on his brow chakra. We're just in back of the crown chakra.
Alright, welcome to Waxing the Porpoise. We're back again here on episode... what episode is this? 28? I think it's 28. Sure.
It is.
Sweet. Awesome. The guest host had to confirm that, which is a good sign. We're back again, episode 28. This time here gathered to discuss Phantasm II from 1988, which we've had a lot, kind of like pretty tight pattern between 87 and like 92. I'm starting to see like develop, so there's definitely a pattern going on here, but this is a fun one. I'm excited to talk about this one. So first off, tonight you got myself, Jim, G-Baby. Oh shit, hold on, I'll have to edit that. I forgot to ask, can you guys hear this?
Yeah, I heard
Chase, don't do that.
it. Yeah.
Way too loud?
Yeah.
Here, one more time.
Chase, don't do that.
That's good.
Less loud?
Sounds good.
Okay.
I said leave it in, fuck it.
G-Funk.
There we go. And then to my right, we have the usual suspect, Steve. How are you doing, my friend?
Sup? Doing good.
He's supposed to be Turkish. Some say his father was German. Nobody ever believed he was real.
It's because you're stupid verbal.
And again, we have two-time returning champion, special guest, Chris from the Channel 83 podcast.
I am the video word made flesh.
Yes, I am here.
Nice
Good
to have you back,
man.
Thanks for having me.
Indeed. Yeah, this should be a fun one. This is a flick that I saw pretty recently in my timeline of horror movie watching. So I'm a little late to this one, but this is one I really like a lot, and I'm curious to see what Steve thinks and any other insights that Chris has on this one. I guess let's start. That I kind of just went through that's my brief history with this flick. I just think it's dope. I came onto it a little later in life, but do you have you been familiar with any of the Phantasm franchise prior to this, Steve?
Me? No, absolutely not.
Okay. I figured.
I'm still not very familiar
I was
with
about to say.
I did have a slight moment of panic after I watched it that I was like, fuck, did he say Phantasm 3? And this was like an hour ago. I was like, oh, shit. Because we just did Exorcist 3, and then we were just on a different podcast who we should give a shout out to where they did a sequel. And then on this one, I was like, well, shit, was this supposed to be number 2 or number 3 or number 5? I don't know. So then I had to go back scrolling through our old text, like, please, God, don't do what I think you've done.
Yeah, we have had quite the murderer's row of sequel flicks that we've been checking out lately. So
none of which have I seen the first. Or I guess that's not true. Exorcist, I saw the first, but not the second. So
yeah, the second one, like we talked about, is a garbage fire, and it doesn't tie in. And I think everything else we watched, like it was like an anthology, or like The Exorcist. I feel like it's a fine standalone, and I think Phantasm II is kind of the same way, to me at least.
Yeah, you can kind of put the pieces together pretty quickly.
Yeah, and it's not like plumbing like the depths of storytelling here. So it's not like you need to have each piece like, oh, okay, where am I at in this? This is just
Yeah.
like a fun horror action romp. But what about you, Chris? What's your relationship with the Phantasm series?
So I've been aware of it for a long time, but I did sort of come to it later in life like you. I first heard about it probably, and this is going to be something that, okay, for all the younger people out there, there used to be these things called DVDs, and this was before YouTube. So there was this thing called, there was this DVD called Boogeyman, the Killer compilation, that was just like a greatest hits compilation of horror movies. And it had like just a single like kill scene from like pretty much all the big ones you can think of, like Halloween, Scream, Nightmare on Elm Street. But there are also like a couple random ones like The Dentist or Wishmaster.
Nice.
And Robert Englund did like the commentary track for all of them. And I just like, back in those days, if you wanted to see something like that, you had to have a DVD or a videotape. So I would just watch this obsessively because I was a weird kid. And Phantasm was one of the ones on there, but I don't think I actually watched it till like 2015 or probably like 2016. And then
Right on.
shortly after I watched it, it got released in 4K in like September of 2016. And so that, like, we watched it, me and my wife, and then it came out in 4K. I was like, oh shit, we need to watch this. We need to go see it in the theater. And then after that, I found out like the fifth one was about to come out like October 7th of 2016. And so then we just rapidly watched all of them and then went to the theater and saw Ravager. And so ever since then, like, she has not been keen on ever watching them again, but I really wanted to because I thought they were interesting, but that's just a little too much.
It's quite the endorsement.
Yeah, it's too much franchise overload for some people to just like.
There's 5?
Yeah.
Yes, there is.
Wow. Nice. Is there a certain amount of diminishing returns, or is it just?
I mean, the first one I've seen probably like 4 or 5 times. I did watch it back in November with my dad because I think it was like the Dune movie had just come out, and I'm sure you guys have some little trivia facts about Dune as it relates to this one. And I was telling my dad about that, and he's like, "Oh, I remember that movie from back in the 70s. Let's watch it." So I've seen the first one several times, but anything after that I've only seen once. So this is only my second time seeing Phantasm II.
Okay.
Nice. Yeah, I actually I'm pretty noobish when it comes to Phantasm series. I've seen the first one like once or twice, and I liked it fine enough, but I've seen this one probably 4 or 5 times, and this one just stuck out, but it also wasn't enough to where I haven't broke down and been compelled to watch any other Phantasm. I just kind of treat this as like a standalone entry. I like this one. I don't want like the diminishing return factor to come in and be like, oh yeah, this franchise turns into horseshit, just like a lot of horror franchises that go beyond 4 sequels. But
Yeah, for sure. But I would kind of compare it to like Child's Play in that it is like the brainchild of one person. So even like the shittier parts are still like there's a distinct vision behind it, you know?
right on. Yeah, and I'm not averse either. It just, for whatever reason, I haven't like, taken that step to hit play on 3, 4, and 5. But I plan on doing so just for Reg alone. Is probably we'll talk about him a lot because he's my favorite character in this movie.
Does he come back for 3, 4, and 5?
He's the main character from
Yeah.
like for not in the first one, but the rest of them he is.
Interesting. Based on how this one ended, that seemed unlikely, but what do I know? I don't know about you guys. If this confusion will ring true to you, but the entire time I was thinking he looked so familiar and I just couldn't place it. And then looked at his IMDb afterwards, nothing that looked familiar to me at all.
Yeah.
and just racking my brain as to who he looked like. And have you guys seen the second season of The Wire?
No.
I've seen that's the one where they're at the port, right, in Baltimore,
Yeah.
mainly.
All
I
right.
remember.
Well, this has
Who
this has
does he
lost
remind you
all
of?
steam. The union leader, his name's Frank Sabatka.
Yeah, the main like fat dude with that's bald that looks kind of like
Yeah.
Reg. Yeah,
Yeah.
I guess I can see that a
Okay,
little bit.
well, we can move on now. I just thought
No,
I would bring you all.
I know what you mean though too, because this guy has one of. I think he just has one of those faces. Like he looks like somebody. Like it just.
It looks
looks
like
like-
every white guy.
He
Yeah,
looks like he
there's
could
that.
be like one of the nameless crewmen on Armageddon, or like a bad guy in Con Air, or just
Yeah.
somebody who's in the background.
Yeah, a villain on a construction site posing as a construction worker from like Lethal Weapon 3.
Yeah, and I'm just watching it like, oh, I can't wait to satisfy this mental itch of where I know him from. And I'm looking at his resume like, no, it's nothing on here at all.
I have a theory too. He's not as ugly of a man as Ron Howard's brother,
Clint.
Oh my God.
Clint Howard.
Shots fired.
That makes me think, because Clint Howard was in the Ice Cream Man horror movie.
Yeah.
And Reg is an ice cream man by trade. So
Ah.
part of that I was thinking, I was like, I can kind of see that. Maybe that's where I got my tiny bit of familiarity, because they kind of have similar features. Although, yeah, Clint Howard is just, he's an unfortunate, I like the guy. I've heard great things.
He's an unfortunate looking man, is that what you were going to say?
I am not a handsome man.
Yeah. Exactly.
But yeah, I feel like the same thing when I first saw this. I was like, I feel like I've seen him in something, but yeah.
I felt
Yeah,
the
this
same
is pretty
way.
much been his thing.
And like
Ah.
I have seen him in, like, I looked at his IMDb and I've seen him in those bit parts that he has in other horror movies, but I was like, I swear I've seen him have like a meteor role in something else, but no.
I've never felt closer to two people in my entire life.
Yeah, I kind of feel bad for this guy too, though, because I wish he would have been. I wish he would have been able to parlay this into more stuff. Like he could be like a low level, like Tom Atkins, like kind of B horror movie, like scamp that just you can plug and play him as like the resident badass motherfucker.
Yeah, I mean, based on this one, they both have the whole like banging some woman that's 30 years their junior thing going on.
Yes, they do both share that in spades for sure. Yeah, it's kind of interesting too. Like it's like a reflection of the director of this too, Don Coscarelli, which I've heard the name but I don't know a ton about him other than like he's only ever done primarily Phantasm, like everything Phantasm. It's his baby. It's like his, and I know there's a few other people kind of like that in the industry where they're just known for like one franchise, and that's largely what they've done. So it's kind of interesting too, like that, like this Reg guy, it seems like that's his claim to fame and nothing else really. Like his body of work is this one franchise, which is kind of interesting to dedicate
Yeah,
to
that's
me
really
at least
surprising.
your whole life to something like that. But okay, so that's our familiarity level with the franchise. So I guess let's get to the good stuff. What'd you think of this one, Steve?
I liked it. I would consider it a fun. I would dare call it like a romp. It's not bad at all. It's not super great. And Jim, I guess I'll just give some behind the scenes for people who don't know, is good at, like, if you ever see like at a sporting event where they do the crowd like noise level thing, you can see it kind of like fill up like a noise meter or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I can sort of gauge a movie with Jim if I say like, oh, I've never seen Ghostbusters, and he freaks out and gets all melodramatic and throws his hands in the air. Then I get a clue like, oh, it must be pretty good if he's just beside himself that I haven't seen it. But there will be times where I'm like, oh, you know what? I've never seen I don't know, like fucking Tremors or something, for example. And if he goes like, it's not that great, then I know, it's not like,
You
that
can
big of
take
a
it to the
deal.
bank.
So
Yeah.
yeah, so
Although
I would imagine
I will
if,
say that's a bad example. Tremors is a banger.
I don't know why I just thought of that, but I bet if I told him like, I've never seen Phantasm 2, it would probably be like a 3 on that meter of like, it's a good flick.
Yeah, I wouldn't be beside myself because this is pretty obscure, but I would definitely champion it because I feel like there's some things in here that you liked, and we'll see. Mainly Reg.
Yeah,
I mean, it's just
sure.
like
Oh yeah.
his character is like we'll get into it, but it's just kind of a unique character where it's like he should be a piece of shit on paper. You shouldn't really like this guy, but he somehow like makes it work. Like you can put the like his kind of smoldering misogyny on the side because he's charismatic and like soft spoken. He's not like a in your face dickhead. But then he has some really cool lines and he's chopping someone in half with a fucking chainsaw and he makes a 4-barrel shotgun. So it's like that juxtaposition. I think it works, and I really dug it a lot.
Yes.
Cool. Well, cool. I'm glad you liked it. Did this one lose any luster this time around for you, Chris?
So, since I watched all of the sequels in rapid succession, like 2, 3, 4 sort of blur together for me. Really, like the first one sticks out because I've seen it multiple times, and the fifth one sticks out because it came out in like 2016 as opposed to like the 80s or 90s. So it just looks different. So I didn't really remember much about this one specifically, other than I thought, I liked it and I thought it was interesting. And I would say I pretty much stick to that, but I am one of those people that like I can't just watch a middle entry in something. I have like this idiosyncratic thing to watch things in order. So I did watch 1 and 2 back to back, and I was like, I definitely prefer the first one over this quite a bit.
I need to flash back to it. It's been a long time.
Yeah, I should have done that because I also kind of have that. I don't know. It just irks me a little bit. Even if there's no knowledge lost, I'm always kind of like looking for things that don't make sense and to chalk it up to like, oh, well, I didn't watch the first one. So,
To be fair, the first two both have a pretty threadbare plot. So, like, if there were a franchise to just skip over one, this would be the one. But, based on my limited familiarity with you, Steve, I would guess that you might not like the first one.
oh, really? Okay.
Yeah,
Well, now that has now been added to my list of don't fucking bother ever movies.
I like the first one too. Like when I think hard on it, like there are some things that are good about it. I think for my sensibilities, something about 2, I like it a little bit more. And I sometimes have some unpopular opinions when it comes to like
What's
franchise stuff too.
Gee, what's that fucking horror movie that you love that I hated
It follows.
and it almost destroyed our friendship? Oh, It Follows. That's right.
Yeah.
Chris, do you have any opinion about It Follows?
Fucking garbage.
Oh my
Which
God.
actually goes back to I don't think you would like Phantasm, because one of the things I was thinking while I was watching the first one today was like, it is very much like an A24 movie but made in the 70s. Like, it's about grief and trauma and death, and it's like super surreal. So if it came out today, like, I'm pretty sure the elevated horror crowd would shit their collective pants over it.
What's A24 mean?
It's the production company that made It Follows, and they kind of make a bunch of horror movies in that similar vein that the media has dubbed, quote, elevated horror.
Oh,
But yeah,
I don't.
fuck It Follows.
I don't. I actually am okay with busting out the red pen on you, Chris, because
look
Oh
at him. He's
shit!
mad.
It's not A24. It's not A24, is it?
It follows is not an A24 picture.
This is his mad face.
Smoldering lava.
It may as well be, and you know that's true.
I mean, if I were being real, I would say this feels much more like an RLJE or Neon, maybe
Yeah, I could see that.
production over A24, but I could definitely see it fitting into that mix as well. But yeah, this was the Radius TWC. Um, yeah, that's a tough one. I think we need to just move past this and start the healing process because I'm hurt now
Face.
that Chris did not like It Follows. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. But we'll get into a real big rabbit hole.
If you guys ever get a
continue.
Patreon, I'm happy to come on and just shit on that for a few hours. Bonus
I'll prove
content.
you wrong. I'll prove you wrong.
I'll prove you wrong.
I'll prove
on an opinion you have.
I'll prove to you that you actually like it.
Yes.
He's gonna grab his notebook on why that movie's so
Dude,
great behind him.
We all like shitty
have-
movies. Like, it's fine.
Yeah,
I have this right here, the like companions guide.
he's pointing to his
Follows.
penis.
Yeah, dude, I took so many notes. I guessed it on a podcast called A Cut Above Horror Review. Check episode 37 in the archives where we talked about it. Dude, I prepped for like 3 weeks for that bitch, dude. Like, I was so psyched to talk about it. And, like, other people that enjoyed it, but
I didn't listen to that episode for obvious reasons, but literally up until the moment that you went on that show, I thought that you were just like trolling me with how much you like that movie. I thought there's no way he actually likes this movie. It's garbage, but he's just trying to get my goat by telling me he likes it because it's one of the worst things I've ever seen in my life. I hated it just viscerally. And then when he goes on the show, I was like, he's serious. This is real.
yeah.
And I went from like mad.
Because it's garbage.
Yeah. I went from just mad to dejected and sad for you.
That's how I felt. It's crazy that we were diametrically opposed with the same negative viewpoint towards one another. That's how I felt when you were like, yeah, it sucked. You said something shitty too, like it swallows or something like that. Like just
nice. That sounds something hilarious, I would say.
That's so arrogant.
Yeah.
Screw off.
I don't remember saying that, but it sounds like something shitty, I would say.
I don't think you did, but you did have one little jab and you're like, like knowing a knowing jab.
Yeah, that's
no, you know, looking back, it was probably like It Follows, more like it fucking sucks.
Yeah, I think you were just like, it sucked. I thought you were trolling me straight up for like 5 minutes. I was like, no, he liked it.
Just Mexican standoff. We both think the other one's lying.
You thought Steve was trolling you. You really thought he was gonna like that movie.
It's an allegory. It's a metaphor. Like, yes, thank you. It's very clear. It's like we had an old coworker. Do you remember what story I'm going to tell real quick? Who used to play George Clinton all the time, and that shitty like the dog catcher song, you know,
Atomic Dog by George Clinton like, and the Parliament Funkadelic.
Chase the cat, you know, it's like the dog catcher. It's such a terrible fuking song, and it goes on forever. And he was like, "It's about getting pussy." Like, yes, I know, it's very obvious. Yes, men are dogs, cat, pussy. Yep, hilarious. Very, very intellectually deep. It's about
that's a good pull. God. Just walking the dog.
Yeah.
Atomic.
Anyway,
now I'm gonna have to build in an atomic dog.
Please don't.
So you're welcome.
Back to how much It Follows sucks.
That's your penance. That's your penance.
Dude, when I was a teenager and was about to get my first car, I wanted to get a hearse so bad.
Really?
Yeah, and that was before I'd even seen like. That was even before I'd seen like Harold and Maude. And then when I saw that, I was like, oh, fuck yeah.
I think any punk kid into the Misfits dreamed about getting a hearse.
Hell yeah. Dude. Oh, man. That would have been so awesome.
Yeah, it would. I can see it. I can picture it. That reminds me of like a really old Iowa. It was. Do you remember Iowa CD decks? And they used to make boom boxes. It was like up there with like Panasonic Magnavox. They had a fucking commercial one time, and it's a dude driving, and it looks like he's driving a limo. They only show the front half, and it enters him on the freeway, and it's boom, boom, boom. Another one bites the dust, and he's driving, and people are waving at him, and he's jamming out to this song in the front seat. And then as it pulls away at the end of the commercial, it shows him driving a hearse, and they're playing Queen's "Another One Bites the Dust," and he's just like, yeah, like people on the freeway are like honking their horns. I love that fucking. Anyway, I could see you like that, just bumping some morbid shit.
Well, yeah, except I would never listen to Queen because they're fucking garbage. So is David Bowie. Just trying to get Gwen as pissed off as possible.
I have a trump card here where you're going to alienate both Chris and I if I bring up Prince.
That's not fair because it's like a local, regional thing for one
Look
of
at
you
him
guys.
Backpedal. Yeah, right.
Well,
The native son.
He wants to unload.
I've only lived here for like 4 years, so
I don't care for Prince very much.
that's fine.
Dude, my
See,
wife
Jim,
hates
that's
Prince.
how it's done.
All right. So it follows heartbreak and tangent aside. So getting into Phantasm II, what was your favorite part about this film, Steve? Do you have a favorite did you have a favorite sequence or particular?
Easily my favorite part, Chainsaw to the Dick.
Yeah.
Sure. Which I think is going to be my new prog rock band title.
I like too how he nightcaps that with blowing those like 4 like goblins away in one shot with the like he just like looks down the stairs and yeah.
Let's talk about that shotgun for a second because there's the montage of them breaking into I guess hardware / gun store,
gun shop, yeah.
And one of the things
too, I really like how quickly they go into this fucking montage. I think it's inside the first 15 minutes. And like, that's one thing I was like, they're like, let's go shopping. I'm like, yes, I want this montage this early right now.
Which normally the let's go shopping thing, I wouldn't have thought anything about that because it's just like a common thing to say. But since they like very obviously just like ripped lines from the Dune book in the first movie, I was like, oh, is that a Dawn of the Dead reference where they say, let's go shopping? And then there's, followed by that similar sequence of pillaging a store. But anyway, like my first point about this shotgun is, I don't know if you guys noticed this, but in the montage of him building it, he like has a mallet that he uses to like drive the handle through one of the barrels. I was like, well, you just fucked that up. That's not going to work anymore.
It seemed unnecessarily elaborate, the process of putting these 2 shotguns together. It's like, just grab 2 shotguns.
And then he uses it once and fucking throws it away.
It's like you have this entire fucking bandolier of 100 shotgun shells, and you never use it, and then you do, and it's just chucked.
And then the other guy, Mike, in that montage, it's like, congratulations, you just invented a flamethrower, which is something that already existed, but you made it shittier.
I like all that shit.
No, I love
it. We've talked before about how we're both kind of suckers for those, I guess, for lack of a better word, armament montages like in Boondock Saints or whatever. And the Equalizer. And so, as soon as that happened, I'm like, and I'm in.
Yeah.
No matter what.
It's just like,
no matter what happens.
It's a trope that I love no matter how much sense it doesn't make, like it was a thing like in this time period of like that thing you were talking about 87 to 92 where it's like, it was usually the bad guy, but sometimes the good guys. They always had like, it was usually like the sub boss, like the henchman. He always had to have like some special weapon. Like, oh, this guy, he uses a crossbow instead of a gun. And I like, that's badass, even though like a gun is way more effective than a fucking crossbow.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I always loved he was the main boss, but in Face Off, I always loved Nick Cage's those
Yeah,
golden
for
dragon
sure.
head guns. Those were so fucking cool.
I want to take his face off.
Off.
Speaking of which, John Woo, that was one of the things I was thinking of specifically while going on that little tangent. Have you seen Hard Boiled?
I have not, and I've meant to for such a long time. That's got Chow Yun Fat in it, right? That's like one of his
Indeed, it
big
does.
claims to fame.
Well, like the sub boss in it has this super obscure pistol that is a single shot breakaway pistol, which is like
Oh shit!
so fucking stupid in terms of like trying to kill a bunch of people, but it's one of those things in the context of the movie. You're like, oh, this guy's a badass.
Is it also like a little tiny like Derringer or something?
No, the barrel's probably a good like 12 inches. It's like some
Jesus.
weird fucking gun.
Half rifle pistol. Yeah, there's I really like the one in the Dollars trilogy, the second one, Fistful of Dollars, when Lee Van Cleef, like he's got like it's like a chef's knives kind of like burlap like thing, drawstring on his horse, and he slips it, and he's got like all kinds of like cool like Western era guns, and there's a scene where he pulls out like a pistol and he adds on, like we talked about this before, he adds on like the bump stock to it, and he adds a little bit to it while this guy's running away. That's such a cool
Before anybody
montage
red
too.
pens you, it's like a rifle stock, not like a
Right.
bump stock. Before
Yeah.
anybody.
Yeah.
You know
Thank
what?
you.
Send your emails in. Who gives a shit?
Yeah, I kept wondering too with the quad shotgun. I was like, how is he pulling the trigger? Did he like wrap a fucking zip tie around both sets and he's like pulling it? Like,
I don't
anyway.
think they ever really showed that part of the mechanism. There was one close up where you could tell like they welded it all together, but I don't think they ever showed the trigger.
Is he like putting his whole hand in like this and having like pull it
You gotta
back?
put your-
Like,
You got to put your entire like index finger all the way through, but
yeah. I really love in one scene too. I was like trying to look, it was dark, and then I was able to make it out. Reg's hat when they're
Boogie
going
down.
to inspect Boogie Down. I fucking
oh, is that what it said?
And it's
Hell
so shitty. Like it's one of those things
Yeah.
you could get at a kiosk at a mall where they have like those embroidery
Yeah.
stands.
Yeah, it's this
Oh, hell
cursive Boogie Down. I was like, God, how did I not notice that before? I love him even more. And then like that first scene when they go into that weird like basement area, and another theme of this is you can't tell if it's like a dream or did that really happen, or but that chick who has the cloak on her and they pull it back and there's that fucking worm headed shit coming out of her back. And I like there's this weird funny pause, and then all of a sudden Reg is like, get the fuck back, and he fucking just starts torching it with the fucking with the flamethrower, dude. That part.
Yeah, my thought was like,
Get the fuck back!
yeah, my thought was like, well, if the gal is still alive, why not just use the pistol that you have in your hand to shoot this weird little thing instead of torching them both? But
Yeah, Reg is like, no, dude, she's too far gone to roast that whole fucking thing.
My favorite scene, relating to the flamethrower, and I don't know if you guys thought this was funny or caught on to it at all, but there's a scene where they're staying at like that bed and breakfast, and like the girl Liz just gets there, and Mike like lights a fire in the fireplace with his flamethrower, and she's like, "Wow!" And he's like, he does that sniff, like, "Yeah, I fucking did that."
That was dope.
I thought that was Anyway, I got a Hemi-Cuda.
yeah, and then 30 seconds later, they're like, well, I guess we should be hitting the hay. Like,
Yeah.
you just lit a fire. Like, what are you doing?
I like how quickly too that like it seems at least that Reg rebounds from his whole family getting slaughtered in a entire house explosion. Like he has his moment, and then they're at the fucking funeral, and he's like,
Let's go, Mike. We got things to do.
by the way, the fucking soundtrack. I love the soundtrack of this fucking
It's a
film.
banger.
Too. That like main
Yeah.
that.
But the thing
I love
is
that.
about his family, did they ever say what he meant by his entire family? That was
I
unclear
took.
to me.
He says, "Come on, we got dinner waiting."
I
Celeste
think
made
he
a
I think he
turkey.
mentions like a wife,
Okay.
and then
Right.
there's an aunt or grandma or somebody, and then somebody
made a
who refers
pie,
to Mike
came.
as an uncle. So
Right, yeah,
it's probably like his daughter that considers him
yeah.
like an uncle.
I can't
Ah,
remember the daughter's name, but he does say he's like, yeah, Celeste made a turkey, and so and so's been chomping at the bit, talking about her Uncle Mike and getting to see him for the first time, and all this stuff. So yeah, it definitely implies, I think, at least his wife and one child, and maybe an aunt or grandma who
I'm
also
gonna
brought pie
red
or
pen you
something.
and
But
say that the phrase is actually champing at the bit.
is
It's
it
true.
It is.
really? Damn, this is like
Yeah.
a quasi colloquial
So 1 to
corner
1.
red pen. Yeah.
We're all going to be fighting by the end of this episode.
It's the most pedantic podcast imaginable.
What is it? He's a pedantic, pontificating bastard.
Pretentious bastard.
Yeah.
A worthless old fart, a steaming pile of cow dung.
Simmons
The only
is
other
old.
the only other thing I would say about the hardware store scene is, and I don't know why, but when they went to the cash register to open it, I was like, come on, don't take the cash too. Like, you just stole all this shit. And then they put the money in there, and I'm right back with them.
Yep. That just colors their character, you know. It's like,
Yeah, they're doing a bad thing, but they're not bad people.
yeah, they're doing the Lord's work. That reminded me of an old Step by Step episode where they do that. They go in and they forget like Christmas presents for the kids, and they fucking raid this like toy store, and he adds the money back, but then he still gets caught by the cops. I think he's like, no, I was adding it to the till. Like, yeah, likely story, guy.
That sounds
Yeah, I
like
like that
something that
too.
would happen in Step by Step.
Yeah, it's
Do you guys remember? I don't know what age Chris is, but
34.
when I was okay, so we're the same age. So when I was a kid, there was this big deal about there was some contest you could enter as a kid where you got like free reign of Toys R Us or something for
KB
5
Toys.
minutes.
Yeah, KB
Yeah.
Something
Toys.
like that.
I don't think it was a specific contest. I think it was one of the frequent prizes for like one of the game shows on Nickelodeon or something.
Okay.
Yeah, it was a
makes
tie-in,
sense.
and you got like 2 minutes or 3 minutes, and you could do a mad dash of like fucking fill
Yeah.
the card up.
I remember just watching that, like, that must be so, like, I couldn't even fathom what that would be like to go through that.
I always got pissed every time I saw one on TV. I was like, go behind the register for the fucking video games. Why aren't they?
Yeah.
They all get these shitty toys. It's like, no.
Yeah, just
They
get
put a
12
giant-
Sega Genesis and sell them.
They put a
And
giant
every
stuffed
game
Winnie
in
the
that
Pooh
hoe.
in their cart. Like, wow, there goes 50% of your cart volume.
Yeah.
Good job. Glad this is your Make-A-Wish.
Yeah, kids are stupid.
What'd you think of the tall man, Steve?
Very creepy. He looked like he was made out of clay.
Yes. Like a
And he
dreidel.
wasn't as tall as I was expecting. Yeah, very creepy. Like, the first time you see him, it was a good reveal for me anyway. Or first time I saw him.
Yeah, he's a creepy motherfucker.
Yeah,
And
more like slightly above average height, man. Am I right?
Yeah.
What is he, 6'4.5"?
Yeah, he is actually. Good pull.
Really? Damn. That was just, I just pulled it right out of the ether. I've heard a lot of times, I've heard Joe Bob Briggs, really the only reference. I've heard, I guess this guy who plays the tall man, Angus Scrimm, is just or he was, rest in peace, a real peach of a man. Like, he was just like super unassuming, super kind, like motherfucker, like the consummate professional on set. Like, it just seems like a weird juxtaposition. I would picture him as just like a crouchy old fuck, and it's like, yeah, we got you as a gimmick. Like, you're tall, you're creepy looking, you look like a fucked up demon mortician. He's just like a really sweet man. Like,
Dude,
it's pretty funny.
even Even that name, Angus Scrim, that's like just scary old man
Yeah.
name.
Yeah, I would like have always seen people say the same thing, and this time I actually like decided to look some stuff up about him. He has like I don't like a little bit of an accent, and his name's Angus Scrim, so I was like, he's probably from somewhere, but no, like that's not his real name, and he's from Kansas, which I never would have.
shit.
I never would have guessed that.
I
Son
got
of
kind
a
of like, I
bitch.
thought maybe it was like a Mennonite or like a Amish or something. I could see him like out in a field, like erecting a barn with like 30 other people, like in like an Amish like montage. He was like an extra in Witness, uh, which is a great film, by the way. Danny Gloves, Witness, Harrison Ford. Have you seen that one, Steve?
No,
Damn.
I've never even heard of it.
Lucas Haas, Kelly
See,
McGillis.
So that would have been like a 5 on the Jim scale of indignance.
Yeah.
Like, damn.
Isn't
Yeah,
that
that's
like
fair.
part of a trilogy or some shit? It's about like the same.
No.
Okay.
No. Yeah, it's very much a standalone deal. Yeah, Danny Gloves actually plays a bad guy in that film. I don't think that's a spoiler. Yeah, I think too. I had a question for mainly for you, Chris, but
Yep.
I know there's some controversy about the recasting of one of our main characters, Mike. So Steve in this one, he's played by James LeGros, who you may recognize from Point Break as Roach.
Okay, I've seen it maybe once.
Oh man,
Yeah, he was another one like Reggie Bannister. That's the actor's name too, right? Like actor and character Reggie Bannister.
Yeah.
Yeah, could have sworn I've seen him in something, but like Steve, I've seen Point Break once, and I've seen a bunch of movies he's in, but they're all like bit parts. Like he's in Zodiac, but I cannot place what character. He's like a cop, a
Oh
random
yeah.
cop.
He is like a random like station clerk when like Mark Ruffalo's like trying to like go through all those different counties and playing that fucking goat rodeo. He plays just like randomly. He's like the night watchman at the front desk. I was like, oh shit, James LeGros. He's also, Steve will remember this, he played a character in a Friends episode where he goes out on a date with Phoebe and he's a real slimeball and he's like, yeah, I got a PhD. And she's like, oh, what's it in? And he's all pretty huge. And it like cuts like he's about to say pretty huge dick. Like he's trying to dick down Phoebe. Anyway.
That doesn't sound familiar.
What is the A story of that episode? Because that also doesn't sound super familiar.
I honestly, I can't remember. That's like I just remembered him. And I remembered, oh yeah, that's James LeGros in a throwaway scene in a Friends episode, but I can't pull what the main story from that ep is.
You know what? I hate to red pen you, but I think you're full of shit.
I swear to God, dude. I put that on anything. I'll find it. It's post season 5. It's got to be. Which this is boring people to tears, I bet, on this James LeGros tangent. But
well,
I know
this is just. I think this is just going to turn it into like a beef episode. We're all just fighting with each other.
I don't think he was. He is. But so they recast. I know. I don't know if this is what has. I didn't look into this, but the first Phantasm was made in 1979. Phantasm II was made in 1988, and 9 years are supposed to have elapsed. And for one reason or another, they weren't able to get the guy who played the first Mike.
I thought it was 7 years.
In the movie, they say 7.
Oh, okay. I was adding real time. But anyway, yeah, they recasted him with the Mike we get in this film, played by James LeGros. And I know it's pretty much sacrilege in Phantasm circles if you prefer second Mike.
That circle of 5 people.
Yeah. I kind of like I like them equally in their own roles, but I don't know, something about the dynamic between Phantasm 2, Mike and Reg. I liked that buddy cop story.
So I think on Wikipedia it made it seem like it was partially Don Coscarelli's decision. Like I think the way it was worded was the studio said they could only keep one of the two. and he chose Reggie. But on this little documentary thing that I watched, and this was Don Coscarelli and Reggie saying this, so take that with a grain of salt, but it sort of absolved them of, making the choice and saying it was pretty much the studio's decision on that point.
So they just passed the buck, kind of.
Yeah, I mean it's one of those things like you'll never really know, but apparently they still let Michael Baldwin, the original Mike, audition for that part for the second one, and Brad Pitt also auditioned for that part, and Jeffrey Tambor auditioned for the part of Reggie.
Holy shit!
Interesting.
That's crazy. Jeff Tambor, he's the dad from
Arrested Development.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what exactly is the relationship between Mike and Reggie? Just friends?
So in the first one, one of the third main character is Mike's older brother, who, spoilers, dies at the end of the first movie, and Reggie is like the brother's best friend, and it's implied at the end of the first one, like it's kind of confusing, but basically Reggie becomes Mike's guardian after his brother dies.
Okay.
Because I think that they take out he says too, they mention in this like very beginning of Phantasm II, they kind of flash back a little bit because you see the old Mike when he's like, boy, and he grabs him through the mirror.
Yeah.
He says they got mom and dad and his brother, what was his name? Jody. That's right. So yeah, I was confused about this on this watch too. I couldn't quite place it because it's been so long, but yeah, it seemed like a friend of the family kind of deal.
Okay.
And he was an ice cream man, and I think they bring that theme up later. Like he's wearing this like old timey ice cream man. He ends up looking just like Colonel Sanders, really, like in a white suit with that like that weird tie,
Mississippi string tie.
Is that what that's called?
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, he looks like a young Colonel Sanders.
Well, yeah, they made reference later to like failed ice cream guy, and he's like, "Hey."
Yeah.
So
no, he's like you're just like a bald middle-aged ex ice cream man. He's like, dude, cutting me deep, bro.
Yeah, too low. Was the priest in the first one? Because I was a little confused.
He was not.
Damn.
Because if you'll remember, he's like in Paragord, Oregon, which is where they're driving to in the movie.
Yeah, because when they first showed him, I don't know if I missed something or not, but, they first show him, like, freaking out at the funeral, and he stabs the guy, and I couldn't really quite figure out why he did that, and then he's, like, drinking. Like, did I miss some foreshadowing of something or explanation behind...
I don't think you missed anything. It's just pretty much nothing is like explicitly ever stated in this. But what I kind of thought is like, that town is a ghost town at this point. He's like one of the last people there. So he's just kind of seeing this town slowly die. And as he's seen that, he's become privy to like what's going on behind the scenes with the tall man and all that.
Gotcha. That, that makes a lot of sense now that you say that. Because, yeah, there's like nobody fucking left in town. If he's doing all these funerals and then he sees all these bodies being taken by the super creepy two mortician dudes. Yeah, when that one guy chopped his hand off.
Yeah.
That was awesome. I love that part.
Yeah, that part's then it starts getting pretty wild, and they start pushing on the gas pretty, like when the end when the silver sphere thing comes out of his mouth and it's still like doing shit.
Yeah, which is funny because like it just bored through a solid metal door, but it reached his mouth, and it's like I just cannot continue any further.
Shout out to that guy. That was a great piece of physical acting. Just the way he made it seem like his body had been completely hollowed out and he was just like a shell and just slumped to the floor.
Totally. That part was awesome.
Yeah, that's a staple of this series are those weird little demon sphere things that suck the life out of people. That I wouldn't say it's a great effect, but I think the budget that they have, I think some of the camera angles that they're able to achieve with it are pretty fun. I don't know if it's a blatant like Predator ripoff to have that fucking like heat-seeking like vision thing going on with it, but
I thought the same thing, and it was like one of those things where I normally would have not thought anything about it, but knowing the history of like ripping things off wholesale, it's just like so many little things. I'm like, are they stealing from this?
Yeah.
Well, and it didn't make sense. Like, does it have a target or is it just seeking heat? You know, because I feel like the first time it hit somebody, it was targeted, and then the second time it was like a police dog that just got let off the leash, and it's like, who's ever in front of me, I'm going to fucking attack.
Yeah.
Exact same thing happens in the first one, actually, where it's just like all you have to do is duck out of the way, and it's just going to kill the nearest thing.
Oh, that's fun.
But I did like that this one introduces the golden sphere, which is always a fun thing for me because it just reminds me of like those side scroller beat 'em up arcade games. Like you're playing Ninja Turtles and it's like, oh, this Foot Clan ninja's he's white instead of purple. So you got to hit him like 10 times.
Yeah. This is the boss sphere. Yeah, I think the more you try to like examine, like, because there's like dream logic shit going on, and then there's like stuff they don't really explain, and like the rules around some of the supernatural shit. And I think in the film too, they talk about like the main girl, what's her name, Liz, the blonde. She's talking about like, does he exist in like a separate plane? Like, is he like supernatural, like a ghost? Like, you don't really know what's going on, and then you get that weird, like, it almost seems like a parallel like Beetlejuice dimension once they get into the morgue, where he gets like Reg gets sucked out for a little bit and pulled back in, and like how exactly like does like this reanimation shit and like the embalming like gimmick that he has work, you know? Like it's kind of weird, like, and it doesn't explain a lot, and like they drop you in like, oh, okay, yeah, the priest, he's like kind of in cahoots helping him harvest bodies, and but he's got a guilty conscience. Like that just seemed like very like they just thought about it real quick and like jammed it into the movie, and like, let's get Reg and Mike here for the final showdown, and it is it's got a weird flavor
for sure.
Oh, yeah, and he's digging up empty caskets, but then in the mortuary they're showing them burning people in their caskets. Yeah, there's just like a lot of, I don't know. Am I the only one who, when they first picked up Alchemy or Kimmy or whatever they called her for short, like from the beginning I was like, this bitch is gonna kill somebody, like she looks evil. And then when she was like physically attracted to such a homely person, it's like, this is either going to be extremely unbelievable or she's working some angle. And then when they had their weird like sex scene, I was like, she has to kill him right now. This has to be like a Black Widow, honeypot, honey dick situation. And then he just leaves like, oh, there's no way that she's just like a regular character. And then when she came back and everything that happened, it was satisfying. But did you guys see that coming? Or, I mean, was it pretty obvious to you too? Or
I'm kind of 50-50 on it. Part of it was like, oh, they're adding to like the legend of Reg, and like he's just with his confidence and his cool, like he's bald ex ice cream man, he gets
creepy.
Pussy. Yeah. Also creepy. Also creepy. But then yeah, it was like 50-50, but like, yeah, this has to be like a Black Widow kind of situation. And it reminded me too of, I don't know if you've ever seen Halloween 3 Season of the Witch, Steve, but there's a character like that is like kind of doting on Tom Atkins the whole movie, and it's like he's like 30 years her senior.
Yep.
It's like, why is she tagging along? If this time around watching it, was like, oh, this reminds me of like that scenario, because at the end of that she turns out to be like a fucking like heat-seeking like robot like assassin thing that he has to fucking dispatch. So it's pretty similar. Actually,
there's robots in Halloween 3.
Yeah, that's
it's
kind of
fucking
spoiler,
weird,
but it is super weird. But it's a lot of fun. I like it a lot. I know it's very right now to be like Halloween 3 was actually good. Like I don't want to be one of those people who's like, I've always liked it. It's like, I always thought it was fine. I like enjoy it. I always thought the soundtrack was fucking really awesome, and it was just different because I'm not the biggest fan of Michael Myers, so it didn't really.
I like the first
me.
one. The first one was good.
Halloween. Yeah, the first one was great. I liked the second one a fair bit too, but I treat 3 like it's a separate thing, which is what it was kind of intended to be anyway. And I think if you like Tom Atkins, that's a plus for you. And if you can just enjoy it on its own merit, then it's fine. But yeah, anyway, that whole the Alchemy and Reg dynamic and her kind of coming in, it mirrors kind of Halloween 3 a little bit, at least for me. But
yeah, definitely. I mean, I kind of didn't think that much about it because I was just sort of along for the ride. And it's just like in movies and TV, that's just a common thing. Like women are always way hotter than the man. Like you watch fucking King of Queens or that Jim Belushi show and they have like hot wives and you're like, and dude, my wife is way hotter than me. So
that was the exact example I was thinking of when I was watching it. Like, are they doing like a King of Queens thing where this unattainable couple, it's super unrealistic? So it's funny you say that.
Yeah, but I mean, going back to the weird flavor you were talking about, Jim, that's actually one of the things I kind of really liked about these first 2 movies as I was rewatching them is like it's open to interpretation, but at the same time, it's like so vague that it doesn't inspire the same sort of speculation as something like Inception or Lost Highway. Right. Like you can't really argue it. Whatever you guys say about this movie, I wouldn't be able to be like, no, you're wrong. And you're wrong because of A, B, C. I would just be like, yeah, totally possible.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's like a buddy comedy road, like cop movie with like some horror, some weird, like, physical effects, like gross horror vibe, all that whole stew, I think. And yeah, like they don't play it like super hard on like the lore or like themes or anything. Like this is like a kind of like 4 on the floor. You're along for the ride. Enjoy it at face value. Stupid fucking kind of light splatterfest action romp. And that's how I took it, how it hit me, and how I like to enjoy it that way. And I think trying to do anything differently is folly, because it's just not, and it's blatantly obvious too. It's not that kind of film. But yeah, I think it's fun though. It's not completely without like merit, or you're just not going to examine it like you would with something with a little bit more substance. But all right. Anybody, you guys got any final thoughts about this one? I know like I just went on that diatribe about how it's not the deepest movie in the world, but anything to sum up what you thought or if you recommend it?
A guy gets a chainsaw to the dick. What else do you need to hear? It's so good.
I like to that scene where he's like, I gotta go, babe, to Alchemy after they have that weird quasi-sex scene. And he's got the chainsaw just hanging like on the coat rack, like right by the bedside, and he just grabs it and he runs down the stairs with his chainsaw. Like, I thought that was a lot of fun.
Yeah. My favorite scene was actually when the tall man died. I love a good melting effect.
Yeah, that was
It was pretty good. Yeah, it was pretty fucking good. And the gross, like, goo.
That yellow shit when he, like, touches his tongue with it. Ugh, that part fucking got me. I was like, ugh. Oh, it's so gnarly. But yeah, they definitely leave it open-ended towards the end. And I, from what I've heard, and I did a brief research, like, it looks like the third entry kind of picks up, like, immediately after this. So somehow, like, Reg is, like, he's just like licking his wounds, I'm assuming, and like it's like he just got a couple scratches and then he's back for like the duration of the franchise. But yeah, he does get fucked up pretty bad at the end of this one.
Didn't remember that the third one also picked up at the end. of this one, but that is one thing that I really like. And beyond that, I like that it sounds weird, but it's something that franchises don't really do often, where these movies really like consider the consequences of the previous movie. Like they're written from a standpoint of what would happen, what would logically follow from what happened in the first movie. I don't know. It's a thing I talk about a lot, but it's kind of hard to explain. Like, there's like in every Marvel movie, there's like a catastrophic event where like the world almost ends. But then the next one, it's like a hard reset. Like they act like that just never happened. Or like you don't see like the societal fallout of that. And that's
Right.
something I appreciate about this franchise is that you do get to see that. And slowly, starting with this one, it's like the tall man sort of taking over everything. And I guess in this one, it's like the state of Oregon is completely fucked. And that just sort of spreads out. And you get to see, a certain verisimilitude.
Love that word. Not sure what it means.
It means truth likeness.
I love it. Can I ask two really stupid questions?
For sure.
Is what you're referring to something that this could either be categorized under the weekly I'm really fucking stupid corner or maybe Gwen's colloquial corner? But have you guys heard the expression retcon?
Yes.
Okay, so would that be kind of what you're talking about, where after the fact they're like, well, we're just going to kind of go back and explain something that happened before to kind of make everything homogenous or continuous? Is that right? Or
it's not even so much a retcon, because retcon is like, I believe it's shorthand for retroactive continuity. Like they just change it. Like, oh, it was never Peter Parker. It was actually some other guy. But more so what most franchises tend to do is just, imagine like Friday the 13th, 30 camp counselors just got murdered. But then the next year, a bunch of people are still signing up to be camp counselors there. Like they never actually sit down and think of like in the real world, if this happened, what would the consequences be and how would people act afterwards?
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense.
Second stupid question.
I don't even remember. That's how dumb it must have been. So at the beginning, when they're kind of doing the recap of the previous movie, they show the house exploding. And then when he's in the mental asylum, they say, like, that wasn't real. Like, okay, well, then the house exploded again. So was it the same house? Different house?
It was different house. That was Reg's house with his family in it.
Kind of looked like the same house. But,
well, there was two houses. I think that was him just flashing back in his head the way he remembered it, but he's having to stuff that away to like get out of the mental institution. And then Reg is like, no, that didn't happen, man. That was like, that was in your dreams. Your brother Jody died in a car wreck. Like that's the other thing. Like you can't, like Mike is somewhat of an unreliable narrator. Like you can't, it never spells it out like clearly. It's like,
okay.
Yeah.
I mean, face value, it's like, yeah, it happened. But all these other supernatural weird forces are conspiring against Mike, and he's questioning it. So by extension, we're questioning, like, is the shit that he's dreaming really happening, or is it not? Is it just a dream? But then now when we pick up in Phantasm II, Reg's family dies. It's like, okay, now we're back in reality. But then they have like another, like, there's a couple other scenes that you're not really sure. Like that part where he's like, get the fuck back. And they see that Liz character who comes up later. Was he just dreaming that with that fucking weird thing coming out of her back? Or was it like a facsimile that the tall man created to look like her? I don't know.
Yeah, that's the thing about these movies in general is like, it's all dream logic, but you kind of just get to decide for yourself what is or isn't a dream. Because it's never like the way it is in most movies where it's like, oh, there's some shit going on and then cut, boom, he wakes up. It was all a dream. Like
Gotcha.
There's a valid argument that the entire franchise is a dream.
Right.
It's kind of just like whatever is most fun for you to believe is what you can believe.
All right, so I guess that'll wrap us up for Phantasm here. So it sounds like we got another winner here. You liked this one, okay, Steve?
Yeah,
Sweet,
definitely.
Coolio. Did you have any other trivia on this one, Chris, or any last words before we sign off here?
I don't think so.
Have you guys been I know that there's quite a lot in the horror realm, specifically that's come out recently. I just watched the Hellraiser reboot on Hulu that just came out, I think, like a week ago, and I liked it pretty okay. It was decent, I would say. I know you probably didn't check that out, Steve. But Chris, did you see that?
I've never seen any
Any of the Hellraisers?
You didn't randomly decide to watch the 11th entry in a franchise?
Yeah.
Surprisingly not.
No, I did watch it, and my thoughts were basically like, it's kind of, if it weren't a Hellraiser movie, it's just sort of whatever. But I think in the context of the franchise, I don't think it was very good. Mainly because of the way they dealt. Well, I don't know. It's such a new movie. I feel like I don't really want to spoil it, but the lament configuration seemed to have a sort of sentience to it, rather than just being a gateway. And I think that is sort of fundamentally at odds with the way Clive Barker wrote The Hellbound Heart. There wasn't a whole lot of solving of it. It seemed to solve itself for the most part.
Yeah, that's a better articulation too. Anyway, I don't want to get into Hellraiser, but I thought it was cool. Are you a big Hellraiser franchise guy, Chris?
I've seen all of them.
But it's not particularly like you're not the biggest fan of.
I do really like them. Not as much as, certain other people, but I like the first 5 movies, which is more than most people like. I think it's generally acknowledged that after the second one, all of them are dog shit.
Yeah.
But I like the first 5.
Is the 5th one the one with Craig Sheffer that was directed by Scott Derrickson? Okay. I'll almost meet you halfway. I like the first 4 like a lot, and then I'm of 2 minds about the 5th one. And I think it colored kind of my interpretation or my enjoyment of it when I found out later on that Scott Derrickson did direct it, in the positive. But yeah, I like 3 and 4 a lot. They're like so bad they're good to me, and it's just like cheese that is my brand. But yeah, they do get a lot of flack.
When we were watching the new one, I was just like, when are they going to bring back the CD throwing Cenobite? Like, where's the one with a camera, or the one that's just a fucking bartender?
Yeah, the camera head is probably, to me, the most redonkulous one in the whole series. But I'm actually one of the people, too, that I enjoy the second one more than the first. I like that one a lot. Leviathan's, I have a lot more enjoyment for it. But
yeah, I could definitely see that. It's more balls to the wall in certain aspects.
Yeah, our same friend we were talking about, Mr. Mace, weirdly, like he had that anecdote we talked about earlier in the show, and then he always would talk about how like his favorite film was The Coal Miner's Daughter. And then he'd follow it up and say like, oh yeah, I just watched Hellraiser 2 last night. I forgot how much I love that fucking film. Like, it's just such a weird juxtaposition for a human to have those.
Yeah, so I remember it was one of the recent episodes where it was like Steve was talking about some quote unquote lame thing that he likes where there's just no explanation. I don't remember specifically what it was. And then there's that coal miner's daughter thing.
Yeah.
And off the air, we were talking about how I was in Vegas and saw David Spade. But can you guess who the headliner of that was, who was like a bucket list, I have to see this person?
I have a guess.
Shoot.
Jerry Seinfeld.
Oh, fuck Jerry Seinfeld.
Celine Dion.
No.
Can you tell us what casino?
That was at the Mirage.
Sorry.
Hold
So you
me
saw
closer,
David
Ed.
Spade at the Mirage. And was the performer you were there to see a musical act?
It was another comedian.
Tom Segura.
No, I mean, I feel like that probably would track if people are like, oh, yeah, I could see him liking that. It's harder for you, Steve, not knowing anything about me.
Margaret Cho.
Ray Romano. Just the most
wow.
boomer comedian celebrity you can think of.
I'm surprised he didn't play it because Brad Garrett has a comedy club.
He sure does, and I saw the signs, and I was like, holy shit. Clash of the Titans.
Raymond.
But that's definitely my like lame thing that I'm super into is Everybody Loves Raymond.
Oh, really? Oh, good for you.
I never got on the Ray train, that's for sure.
Well, that's because you're below the age of 60.
I am a big Peter Falk fan. I do like him a good amount.
The only thing I know him from is Scared Straight. I've never seen anything with him in it other than that.
I liked him as he played in...
Who the fuck is Peter Falk? Is that
Columbo?
I'm sorry, I misspoke. What's the dad? What's the grandpa? The
Peter
old
Boyle.
fucker? Peter Boyle. Sorry, I totally...
Damn.
Get my
Jim
foot
is
out
just
of my
getting
mouth.
fucking bodied this entire episode.
Hey, I also...
That makes it 2-1.
I also do like Peter Falk, though, let it be known. Columbo is a fucking badass show.
Look at how mad he is.
No, Peter Boyle, Peter Boyle played what's his face?
Frankenstein. Monster.
Yes, he did play that. But in
was he also one of Phoebe's boyfriends?
No, you fucking asshole. You love Friends way more than I do. So don't try to fucking
what?
It is a good show. No, Fear and Loathing, Benicio del Toro's character. Peter Boyle played his character in a earlier Hunter S. Thompson vehicle called Where the Buffalo Roam, where Bill Murray plays Hunter S. Thompson. That was later played by Johnny Depp in Fear and Loathing. Where the Buffalo Roam's a banger. I like it a lot. But Peter Boyle, the dad from fucking Ray, played his legal counsel, Raul. I can't remember the fuck his name, but he's real good in that too.
Hell yeah. R.I.P.
Did he pass away? Damn, that sucks.
He sure did.
Oh, hey, one thing before we cut out here too. I remember you mentioned it. You were like, yeah, I like more like weird shit like can't remember what it was, and then you mentioned Brotherhood of the Wolf, and I was like, I got caught in the moment. We started talking about other shit, but I wanted to touch on that. Steve, have you ever seen Brotherhood of the Wolf?
What do you think?
Hey, Steve, have you ever seen this French action movie from the early 2000s?
Well, hey, I was holding on to the fact that Mark Dacascos is in it, and I thought maybe...
Oh, yeah. No, I have no idea.
Mark Dacascos from American Iron Chef? Yes, I've seen that movie.
Oh, yes. Of course. Why didn't you start with that?
Yeah, that was my folly. Yeah, Brotherhood of the Wolf. I love that fucking movie. Do you think Steve would like it based on limited interactions?
I mean, do you like The Matrix, Steve?
It's okay.
I would say maybe he wouldn't like it because I haven't seen it in a while, but from memory, it's like 2.5 hours long.
It is pretty long.
It's in French, and it just...
I thought you hadn't seen The Matrix.
I haven't, but it is one of those movies that came out in the post-Matrix wave that is very like... I mean, we're going to do bullet time, but in revolutionary France with werewolves type shit.
No thanks.
No, I don't think that's a good sell of it. Hey, check this out. Have you seen The 13th Warrior with Antonio Banderas?
No.
Fuck. I'm thwarted.
Okay, so that's a 7 on the Jim angry scale.
I honestly think you'd really like 13th Warrior. And then I was thinking, if you
Yeah,
did like
the
that,
scale checks out.
we can
That's
get
why.
there. We can get there to Brotherhood of the Wolf via 13th Warrior. If you
Antonio
like that,
Banderas.
yes.
Quigley Down Under. Liked it.
You did? Yeah, that's a good flick.
Yeah.
I picture you as a big man from Snowy River, or like, what's that other one with fucking Tommy Lee Jones? Lonesome Dove. Like you've watched the whole thing with your grandfather before while he passes out in the recliner.
No, he's dead. So,
Well, when you were younger, asshole. Okay, yeah. Anyway, I thought that might be a good one in the future. If you ever wanted to come back on for something else, that would be a fun one.
Fuck you. I mean, I'll talk about anything.
Right on.
What are you referring to exactly?
The Brotherhood of the Wolf.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Or, I mean, while we're on the subject of Tommy Lee Jones, if you ever want to watch Man of the House, I'm down.
Oh my god!
Man of the House, wasn't that
They did a sequel.
Taylor Thomas and
that's another one called Man of the House. Yeah, with Chevy Chase and Farrah Fawcett.
Did you just say Chevy Chase?
I'm a little tuned up. Is it Chevy or is it Chevy? Like
it's
Chevy's?
Definitely not Chevy.
No, okay. Chevy.
But no, to answer your question, Man of the House is much like the Iowa Stereo commercial that Jim was talking about. Is something that lives rent free in my mind because it's a movie where he is like, I don't know, works at the University of Texas and becomes like in charge of a sorority or some shit. And they like it's one of those ones that had a huge ad campaign, and the commercial was like some woman telling like, "Show me a happy face," and he goes, "This is my happy face."
Yeah,
dude. Totally.
Never fucking seen the movie, but I still remember that.
God.
I remember that too, and I had no idea what you were talking about 5 seconds ago.
I don't care. I wish I had that bump right now. No, we will never discuss that. I think my wife loves that film. Either that or The fucking Blind Side. Dude, you know what I found out the other day? This is a really hard left turn to Albuquerque here, but my wife made me watch goddamn fucking Hope Floats with Sandra Bullock and what the fuck is his name? He played Will Smith's homie, Harry Connick Jr.
DJ Jazzy Jeff.
I was going to guess either like Dylan McDermott or Dermot Mulroney, who I think are the same person, that I have no, like,
dude,
I cannot separate.
That is a weird one because I think the same way.
There's actually a bit on King of the Hill about that.
Oh, is there?
Really?
Yeah.
It's something, their names are not similar, but
I think they're both Irish.
Is that what it is? Maybe that's the connection.
They both have punchable faces.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, this super side tangent. So I had to watch goddamn Hope Floats, which it wasn't that bad. But guess who directed this motherfucker? Forrest. Okay, so Hope Floats is
Whitaker?
like a chick. Yes, it's like a chick flick. Like this chick's down on her luck. Her wife, her husband's
Forrest
fucking around
Gump.
on her. She has to move in back with her mom. It takes place in the South. It's not what you would picture this guy directing, but it's directed by the G.I. fucking Whitaker directed this film, and it like blew my brain in half. I was like, how in the world did he direct this film? All the shit he's been in and associated with, it just blew my fucking mind.
I think that's what we would call a cash grab.
But it doesn't though. It seems like more like a
make money.
It feels like more like a passion project. And then I found out later. I went on to look at what else has this motherfucker directed. He's directed a Whitney Houston music video, Hope Floats, Waiting to Exhale.
What?
Angela Bassett.
Wait, what Whitney Houston video?
Exhale, Shoop Shoop.
Okay, so It almost sounds like his vision is off
Very good. Yes.
because he has a
Metaphorically
lazy eye.
and literally. And then the other thing, then my wife made me watch fucking First Daughter with Katie Holmes, which, God,
Made you?
I wanted to melon ball my eyes out watching this film. But then he directed that film too. It's like, what? Why is Forrest Whitaker directing all these shitty films? And they're not even
I think
like
he's
shitty.
just fucking weird. He has
Dude,
a
it
weird
has to
energy
be.
on screen.
He does. And I always remember him really well from like the first thing I think of is Ghost Dog, Way of the Samurai. So it's an even weirder, like, these rival worlds that he's existing in. It just blew my fucking mind. But
For me, it's
Forrest
Bloodsport.
God, for me, it's fucking Phone Booth, which really shows the range between all of us.
Oh, wait. This might be one of the ones. I might have a gym moment. Have you seen Bloodsport, Steve?
No.
Oh, fuck. You're a Van Damme fan? You haven't seen fucking Bloodsport?
this
It's
is like a 9.
JCVD.
This is like a 9 or a 10.
I haven't.
Dude.
I haven't.
It's one of those movies when no matter what time I tune in, when it's on TNT, I'm watching that motherfucker.
Yeah. So this is like
All right,
a
because I trust
Shawshank.
your opinion. Because I trust your opinion, Chris.
Hey.
Thank you. I'm gonna go ahead and check that out immediately.
It is the best Van Damme movie.
You've seen Street Fighter, right?
I have. And that is also that's top 5.
I will echo Chris's sentiment on Bloodsport, although I'm partial to Kickboxer just by nostalgia. That's the first one I watched. I like Kickboxer a lot. I think you'd like that one too, Steve. But yeah, Bloodsport is a must-watch, especially for a self-professed.
I love Bloodsport.
Chris,
go ahead.
Yeah, Chris, what's your opinion on Kickboxer? Because I'm going to defer to you on this one.
I haven't seen it, but it has Van Damme in it. It's easily an 8 out of 10.
It's a lot of fun.
Okay. I'm gonna take that.
I feel like they're almost interchangeable. Like if you like one, you automatically like the other. So,
yeah, for sure. For me, Van Damme is like Bloodsport, and then oddly, like Sudden Death. That's one that flies under the radar, but I fucking love that movie.
Yeah, is that the one Natasha Henstridge, and it's takes place in a hockey arena?
I don't remember if she's in it, but it does take place in a hockey arena.
Or it's Natasha Richardson. I can't. I think I mix up those two people.
I don't know who
the
that
gal
is.
From Species, but yeah, that is a good low flying Jean Claude as well. I always really like Hard Target when he plays like that Creole fucking like assassin, and he's got the mullet, and Wilford Brimley's in it, and he shoots arrows on a horseback.
He punches
really
a snake in the face.
Hell yeah.
Hit parade. Cool. All right. Well, I think we're gonna wrap this one up. Thanks for joining us. You can reach us at Waxing the Porpoise. Email is wax@waxingtheporpoise, or Instagram Waxing the Porpoise, or at Twitter at Waxing the Porp. Chris, thank you very much for coming on again. It's been a lot of fun.
Thanks, man.
And remind the fine folks where they can find Channel 83 too.
Channel83.video if you want to listen to the old episodes of my podcast, or at Channel83pod on Twitter.
Boom. Yeah, check it out. He's got a lot of cool shit, and especially too here in the run up to Halloween. He's got a lot of good content if you're into horror, obscure stuff, and then he's done some like 30 movies in 30 days for Halloween. Some cool stuff to add to your bag of tricks. Yeah, thanks for coming on again. We'll have to have you on a future episode as well. Maybe Brotherhood of the Wolf. And you were saying too, like, I feel like my track record, as evidenced by this podcast, I'm going pretty strong here, coming off another win here with Phantasm II. So just let that sink in.
I agree. I agree.
Thank you. Cool. So we're all good now. We can put aside the red pen. All right. Yeah.
Beef squashed.
Let us know how we're doing. Beef squashed. We'll be back next week with a mystery episode because I don't have the fucking sheet in front of me. So we'll talk about something. I think we're doing Beetlejuice. Yeah, we're doing Beetlejuice. That's going to be our final horror Halloween ode salvo. We'll finish on a strong note, I think, with a crowd pleaser in Beetlejuice, and then after that, then we're gonna get back onto like quote unquote normal show routine where we'll kind of be mixing in movies that are not horror centric, and then also some unsolved, unexplained cases. And I got a couple kind of stacked up that are I'm champing at the
Champing.
bit. God, totally fucking blew that one to get at. So, that'll be back in the normal rotation very shortly too. So thanks for joining us again. Thank you again to Chris, Steve. You guys all have
Can
a
I
great
just say
night.
before we cut out, I feel like we got to give a shout out to the Ghoulish University.
Yeah, you want to hit us?
A couple pals of ours at Ghoulish University podcast had us on their show, and it was awesome. They probably regretted inviting us on.
Oh damn! I listened to the gym episode, but I didn't know there was a second episode.
Yeah,
they're probably editing things that I said out.
No, I don't think it was that bad, but I think really for time, we ended up, I think it was like 4 hours and 15 fucking minutes total elapsed.
Oh yeah, I remember.
Jesus,
long.
Dude.
And you should cut this and put it at the beginning because people have probably already
tuned out. Yeah,
tuned out. But it was awesome. They were all super fucking cool.
Yeah,
and it was fun.
Yeah.
So listen to their shit.
Yeah. Ghoulish University. You can find them on any of the major podcatchers out there. Look them up on the internet. They have a social presence. They cover Tales from the Crypt episodes in sequence. I think they're somewhere midway through season 2, but they asked us, Steve and I, if we'd like to come on for their Halloween special, their little hootenanny where they covered VHS 2. So by virtue of that, we went over each segment of VHS 2, and we had 5 people on the mic. So yeah, we were rip roaring and fucking tangent seeking. But it was a ton of fun. I think they're like 2 weeks behind on releasing, so that'll be out in a couple weeks. We'll promote that too once we get closer to that episode dropping. But yeah, check them out in general. They have a good time, and thank you very much to them for having both Steve and I on. That was a fun one for sure. Fuck, I was thinking of something while you were going on about that, but yeah, I can't remember. I'm struggling to grasp what it was.
It's probably all that Jim Beam you were slamming, man. You took that like a man.
I didn't. Yeah, honestly, I didn't drink that much of it.
Is that what you're drinking?
Yeah.
A fifth?
I had this is a pint. I had about a half a pint. I got a little toasty. I can't seem to break my, like,
Jim
I had
Beam. Gross.
Yeah. I had a really, it's like that when I was telling you on, what is it? Old School. Will Ferrell's like, I had a great time. And everyone else like, we know you had a great time, Frank. Yeah. I got when I guested on Ghoulish University when we were doing the cutting cards, I got pretty fucking tuned up, and I had a really fucking fun time. And so ever since then, I've been trying to chase that dragon. So I mix in like a beer or two and a couple fingers of whiskey,
a belt, if you will.
While I record, and it seems to be like the perfect mix, like the secret sauce, little liquid courage. Let's see. I'm curious about this one. Have you ever seen Jaws?
I don't think so.
Ugh, fuck.
Like I said in the first episode we did together, I can relate to that because even though I'm a huge horror fan, I didn't see Jaws till like 2 years ago.
I didn't see it till later in life either. I actually saw Orca first as a young lad. And that freaked me hard. The fuck out. Yeah, it does. Orca's awesome.
Fucking love that movie.
Orca's rad as fuck. But yeah, I saw it later, and I like Jaws more. I think of it more on the same wavelength of like E.T. and like Poltergeist even. Like it's like there's something about it that I like in a different way. Like I never got like, you know, people watch it. My mom's deathly afraid of fucking sharks and going in the water because it's like Exorcist. When people saw it when it came out, it was this big cultural thing, you know. But I like Jaws for different reasons. But I just watched it again for probably only the second or third time because it's a good summer horror flick. It's right in that season, but yeah, it's Spielberg too. So, but it's really fucking good.
On those two, like Exorcist scared the shit out of me. I think I've told this story on a couple podcasts before, but I was raised Catholic, and I think there was like a 25th anniversary re-release to theaters for Exorcist. So I probably would have been like 13. And on the way to the theater, my parents very like stoically explained, like, this is a thing that can happen to you. Demons are out there. So that movie's I was actually probably about 9. That movie scared the shit out of me when I was a kid. But you know, I don't believe in any of that anymore. So, but that'll always kind of be with me when I'm watching it. And then Jaws, I watched during the pandemic, and a huge part of the plot is the mayor just like denying its existence. So I was like, oh, that's accurate.
Yeah, it took on way more significance through that lens for sure.
And I had the same experience with The Exorcist, where we've talked about it before, but like growing up in a religious house, they literally told you like this movie could affect you spiritually and kill you if you're not careful, and it's like a Ouija board. Like, okay, well,
like you're opening yourself up to that shit.
Like Catholics are fucking. We went to see Passion of the Christ because it was our duty to make sure that the box office for that like proved a point of some sort.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
Yep.
Like literally the priest, hey, go see Passion of the Christ.
Damn. That's crazy.
And like the story that you hear of like someone like fainting in the theater fucking happened in the theater I was in. Like EMS came in and wheeled some dude out when I was in there because it was all churchgoers and they just like were overcome watching Jesus be flayed with a cat of nine tails.
Jesus. Yeah, I can totally see Exorcist, even not being growing up in a religious household. If I would have seen it just earlier in my life, it would have a way different impact. But I think on our last Exorcist 3 episode I talked about, I didn't see it until I was like 33. Just one that I always just totally missed. And I felt like it was almost overkill. Like I didn't need to see it. Like I already knew enough about like possession, and I've seen the clips of the head spinning around and the spider walk down the stairs, even though I found out later that wasn't in the original cut. So I like more of like the background lore than the movie than The Exorcist 1 itself. But
also, it's like 2.5 hours long, and like the first hour is like nothing. And
yeah,
as I get older, anything over 90 minutes, I'm just like, fuck this.
Yeah,
dude. Yeah.
Preaching to the choir here.
Oh God, I could not agree more.
I'm kind of a sucker for 2 hours. If it's a good like the benchmark for me is like Zodiac, like something like that. That's 2.5 hours. That's like engrossing. That's the kind of like long player that I like. But
it's just, I mean, they very rarely are that engrossing. Like I remember the new Dune movie I watched in theaters or like with my dad or what, I think it was on HBO Max or some shit, and I liked it. And then the second time I was just like, holy shit, this is fucking long.
It is. I like Dune quite a bit, but I watched it piecemeal also because it was on HBO Max and I was able to kind of like have lunch, set it aside, come back to it. So
did you see Halloween Ends?
I did. I just watched it last night and
what'd you think?
I don't know, man. I didn't care for it, but like in general, but it also made me, I saw other people, so I'm grafting onto this. I saw other people like on Twitter and stuff saying like, this was weird. It did. It made me feel weird. in a way I can't really articulate. But
Did
no,
you see?
I didn't like the direction that they went with it.
Have you seen the 3 Star Wars sequel trilogy movies?
Yes.
So when I was watching this, I was like, this is the fucking Rise of Skywalker of Halloween, where like the middle entry was so fucking bad that it's like this one's it's the best they could have done, but it's still not good.
Yeah. Like a lot of other people have echoed too, I liked the callback to Halloween 3 with the intro with the blue font and it not opening with the fucking pumpkin vignette shit like right out of the gate. I liked that, which is pretty. I don't know. I was really grasping, and I liked the.
No, that was actually probably my favorite credit sequence of any of the Halloween movies. Was this one, but it was kind of a shitty movie.
Yeah, I really. There's a blowtorch kill scene that was pretty fucking rad.
Yeah, that was cool.
And the DJ getting his shit messed up was pretty cool, but yeah, I didn't like what they did with this second guy. Yeah, it was weird. It made me I didn't know. It's like that meme. I don't know how I'm supposed to feel right now.
Well, yeah, because in the second one so in the first one they're just like, oh, Michael Myers, he's not supernatural at all. He's just a guy. And then the second one, at the very end, they're just like, no, he is supernatural. All this shit just happened to him, and then he murders like half the fucking town. And in this one, they're like, he does like that Ghost Rider penance stare into the kid's eyes, and it kind of seems so like a half-assed like Jason Goes to Hell scenario.
Yeah.
But then they just like fucking drop it. And it's like, maybe if the second one didn't exist, this could have just been a good follow-up to the first, and they could have just completely ignored that weird supernatural shit.
Yeah, I was not a big fan of Halloween Kills. I liked some of the kills in it, but what my hope for this third one was I was like, I hope they just go full balls to the fucking wall and they make it supernatural. He's this weird fucking thing. And I was hoping that they would tie, like, somehow the best parts of Halloween 3 and, like, the Stonehenge and the mask shit with the Cult of Thorns shit from 5 and 6 and just make it full fucking gonzo bonkers. And that's what my hope was for this one. That's the only way I feel like I would have been satisfied, but
yeah, that's like when they were coming out with the first one, they kept talking about like, oh, we're just doing our own thing, but then they just keep referencing those first 6 movies. And like in this one, they even referenced the Thorn trilogy of like the weird homeless dude that takes care of Michael. That's a thing in the 5th one.
Yep. Yeah, I was pretty actually. I think what I had the worst taste from Halloween Kills was the depiction of Tommy Doyle by Anthony Michael Hall. Like on paper, I should have liked that, but he was fucking atrocious. And the whole evil dies tonight, all that, blah, blah, blah. All that shit was just like garbage. So I kind of watched this third one going into it just with morbid curiosity.
Yeah, I actually got a free ticket to a sneak preview, so I was like, yeah, I'll fucking see that.
But yeah, it was just weird, and I didn't like it, which is not revolutionary, but
no, for sure.
Just seemed really weird, some of the decisions that they made. I will say I liked the first reboot, the 2018 Halloween one. I thought that was just fine.
It was
maybe the first 15 minutes of the second one, and that's it.
Like, I just don't fucking care about Halloween that much.
I just saw the guy who did the VHS 2 segment on the Alien one, the Alien Slumber Party, which I didn't like that segment.
Loved it.
You loved it. You did love it. That guy just got greenlit to expand upon that segment, and so he's making a film called Alien Kids versus Aliens with a budget, and I think Shudder greenlit it for first quarter 2023, and they have a trailer out. It's called Kids versus Aliens. Looks pretty fucking fun.
So I haven't seen that, but this is the dude that did Treevenge.
Yes. Yep.
Which is actually like, it's juvenile, but it's pretty fucking funny in my opinion.
Yeah,
and Hobo with a Shotgun, which I have not seen.
Yeah, he won that, which I touched on in that episode. He won that Grindhouse, like make a trailer, and he won this contest for that. And then he got greenlit to expand upon it in Hobo with a Shotgun. And yeah, he did Treevenge. I think he did a couple other shorts too that have been really well received, which got his foot in the door. Like, hey, let's give this guy a shot. So I'm hoping this Kids versus Aliens looks pretty fucking cool. And the base level is like, there's a kid, he lights all these fireworks and he's got it in like a bomb contraption and he says, fuck space. And I'm like, I'm in. So I'm looking forward to that.
Do you want to plug the other podcast we were on one more time and direct Chris to that so he can tell me that he agrees with me after
it's
all over?
Ghoulish. So Ghoulish University will be, I think in 2 weeks' time, they'll be releasing their Halloween special episode where we covered VHS 2, the anthology horror film from 2013, I believe. But yeah, Ghoulish University, they're everywhere. iTunes, Spotify, wherever you listen to podcasts, they're out there for sure. So check them out.
Right on. Hard Left Turn. Last time we talked, I was about to go to Vegas, and Steve was like, you got to check out Fremont Street for a day. I went there for 45 minutes and could not fucking stand it. There were like 3 cover bands playing at the same time.
Yep.
And my wife is such an easy mark that it's like I fucking paid some dude $20 who was dressed up as Pennywise. She was like, I want to take a picture with him. And I was like, Jesus fucking Christ. And then he's like, $20. I was like, oh, God damn it.
It sounds like a you problem.
Yeah. And I was just like, don't look at the street. Don't look at the buskers. Like, look into the eyes of the people walking around and see how fucking insane the normal people are. They're all like coked out of their mind.
Yep. Yeah. It's everything insane on the Vegas Strip condensed into like 2 square blocks.
Jesus Christ. It was awful.
Yeah.
So that was fucking awful. And then just a bunch of things like, oh, these people are holding like boa constrictors for some reason and charging you to take pictures with them. And she's like, let's take a pic. Like, no, fuck that guy. He didn't do anything. He just bought a snake at PetSmart.
Yeah, I know the exact guy you're talking about. Outside the convenience store
yes.
on the north side of Fremont Street, just before the Golden Gate Casino.
And then a million guys like come in business suits, like talking something about CBD, and I'm like, dude, fuck off. Like, I don't give a shit. Leave me alone.
Yeah, don't take her to Mexico because she's going to be lured into every store by everyone trying to talk her into something.
Dude.
That's why traveling alone is better, because I don't have to worry about how someone else is going to make me waste my money by talking to some dude dressed up like Chucky.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, all that sounds like my nightmare.
You could take it as a compliment. She's obviously a beautiful gal you're taking with you.
Yeah. The one thing I did like is just how like I do like kitschy things like, oh, this is the New York casino. It's like a shitty small version of New York inside. Yeah. I had to like fight to say like not say like I'm walking here to all these people on this like shitty tiny version of New York. I like the fact that they're like all this casinos are connected with like the things.
The tram.
Yeah, well, not that. The things they have in airports where it's like you're too lazy to walk. Stand on this thing.
The people mover.
It was, I I would go back. Like, there was nothing that stands out to me as like that was cool, but at the same time, it's so fucking cheap. Like, how could you not go back?
That's how they get you.
And every Uber driver we had was like, had some scheme about how they're going to make a bunch of money. Like, oh, I'm going to buy a bunch of RVs and rent them out because the housing market is down. And I'm like,
Jesus.
you do you, bro.
Yeah. Well, anywho.
Yeah. I'm fading fast. I'm about to fall down, I think, and just sleep in my hallway. What were you gonna say?
Just gonna say it's about dinner time here.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, eat that dinner, man. Get at it.
What's the meal for the evening? Is it
This cat.
Hey, is it a famous Brittany bowl?
No, she's out of town.
Oh, okay.
Just me.
Batching it.
Yep.
Are you working on your secret Taco Bell chili cheese hack recipe?
No, that recipe is perfected. Thank you.
Oh, okay. Dude, I've been wanting to get. I got this kick. Like there's no Outback Steakhouses out here, and I want to try. I want to try my hand at a fucking bloomin' onions so bad. It sounds so good.
You are the only person that would lament the fact that there's no Outback Steakhouses.
Dude, when I found that out, and when I found out there's no Round Table Pizza out here, like east of Nevada, I was pretty heartbroken.
I don't know what that is.
It's a West Coast.
Oh, you're missing out, dude.
Dude, Round Table Pizza.
It's pretty good.
Is the fucking best pizza there's ever been, ever. And it's
Jim has some pretty shitty opinions about things, but Round Table, I will back up.
What is it though? It's just like a pizza place.
Just pizza. Their theme is like King Arthur, medieval times. Like they have the King Arthur's Delight, like the combination pizza. It's just fucking good. It's like, I don't know if I would say high end, but it's like you're paying like almost $45 for a large pizza.
Yeah.
So, but I don't know, dude. Something about the level of spiciness in the sauce, the crust, the cheese mix ratio that they use, it's just fucking, it's a winner.
They have Pizza Ranch in Indiana?
No. The only chains I know out here, there's one called Pizza King that seems like a real regional favorite.
Sounds like bullshit.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does.
I've only tried, there's one out here called Marco's, which I just tried the other night, and it was fucking delicious.
I've never had it. It's like it's a weird thing where it's attached to Family Video.
Yeah, there's a ton of like now decrepit and about to like collapse Family Videos out here, which are from Stranger Things, featured prominently. But yeah, there's a bunch of those out here too. I haven't seen any of them connected to a pizza place, but yeah, Marco's is fucking great. Like perfect cheese leoparding, like almost in the style
Jesus Christ.
Almost in the style of like Costco pizza. That's kind of what, yeah.
I don't know what, I know nothing about Costco pizza, but 'tis the season for Costco pot pie.
Dude, anything in the Costco food court is fucking awesome. Chicken bakes.
Chris, you never had Costco pizza?
No, I specifically got a membership for the pot pie, and I found out they don't have that for like 9 months of the year.
Oh, fuck.
Treat yourself to
the pizza's pretty good.
Their pizza is great. Especially just a classic cheese. Dude, that leopardine, every single
God
one.
damn it. I knew you were gonna I knew you were gonna say it again.
That's like, oh, the marbling on the beef.
Yeah.
It's just it's like it's always on point.
He's gonna say it for a third time.
Damn, now I just want pizza like a motherfucker, and I have 0 pizza options.
All right. Yeah, I'm going to go eat some dinner.
Have fun, Steve.
All right,
it's
fellas.
been fun.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, well, if you're into it, we'll have to have you on again. We'll once we get through November. I think November, December are pretty full slate right now. But yeah, we'll stay in touch.
Yeah, fuck it, Chris. Come back anytime.
Yeah, no, I'm good. I have no life. I'll talk about anything. Whatever.
Right on. Yeah, we'll keep you in mind for sure. Thanks again.
Yep. See you guys.
Later, guys.
Bye.